South Carolina won the NCAA women's tournament last night.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes. I watched the game. It was incredible. Caitlin Clark came out firing. She had a record-breaking first quarter. But South Carolina, just as a team, you could see size and physicality. Iowa just did not match up well, and it really is kind of a one-person show over there. So they deserved it. An undefeated season, finished perfectly.
On Saturday, before the game was on Sunday, head coach of University of South Carolina women's basketball team, Dawn Staley, was doing the press conference, as they will do in the lead up to the final of the Final Four. And I think she was annoyed at the question because, like, you're sort of, why are you bringing this up at this point? But
the guy who asked is a right-wing writer. So Outkick is a right-wing online sports publication.
Yeah, Clay Travis is vertical.
Yep.
And but good for her. She did not back down. She took the bait, and then she chomped on the line and bit the line in half and swam away. Maybe I played that metaphor out too much, but here's Dawn Staley. Good for her.
Dan Zakrzewski, Outkick coach, you just talked about, what a massive weekend this is obviously for women's basketball, women's sports in general. One of the major issues facing women's sports right now is the discussion topic about the inclusion of transgender athletes, biological males in women's sports. I was wondering.
Pause it for 1 second. Let me just also correct one thing. This is not one of the biggest issues facing women's sports at all. Not even remotely. And you're about to hear from the top of the game, who's going to basically say, like, this is not, you're out of your mind.
I mean, and he's also asking this the day before the championship game for her.
But it shows just how sort of like creepy and thirsty and pesty these right-wingers are with this. This is not the biggest thing facing women's sports, not even by like a mile. But go ahead.
One of the major issues facing women's sports right now is the discussion topic about the inclusion of transgender athletes, biological males in women's sports. I was wondering if you would tell me your position on that issue.
Damn, you got deep on me, didn't you? I'm under the opinion of if you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion. You want me to go deeper?
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate?
That's your question. You want me to ask? I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. So now, the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game. And I'm okay with that. I really am.
In other words, go F yourself, you bigot.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Good for her. I mean, and she understood exactly what he was trying to do there, too.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
And I mean, this was a debate, but I mean, a really trumped up fixation from the right wing around this time last year, actually, where it's this, whether it be Riley Gaines, who tied with a trans swimmer for fifth, oh, I'm so sorry, and was deeply, deeply upset that this was some sort of infringement on her right to compete. The reality is that, I mean, women's basketball, too, they are acutely aware of gender discrimination and other forms of discrimination. Brittany Griner is an openly LGBTQ famous WNBA player. There are other very famous gay WNBA players who have faced discrimination. And that I think has fostered a really inclusive mentality within the sport where they understand that this is just another way to demonize trans people and make particularly trans women into this kind of, in their view, bastardization of femininity. And it's just really odd too, by the way, that they never focus on in the reverse, because they, for this one moment, right-wingers have decided that they care about women's sports. For the rest of time, they've said that it's stupid, that they shouldn't get paid
100%.
anything, that the market should decide it. But now they've decided that they want to focus, laser focus, and gatekeep whether or not trans women can participate.
The beauty of this exchange is it encapsulates all of that. The idea that you are a sports writer and you have an opportunity to ask a question of, is she the most winningest
I believe
college,
so, but she's won the championship 2 out of the last 3 years.
A women's college basketball coach, maybe in history. Close, maybe. I mean, in terms of like, at least in the modern era, right?
And as a player and coach, like she's one of the most decorated.
You have an opportunity to ask her a question. The day before, she's facing off in the finals against arguably the most popular or well-known college women's basketball player ever. And
I don't even think it's arguable. Yeah.
And this is the question you ask. Like, it is so indicative of, like, if you really care about women's sports, why would you ask that question?
Yeah.
Like, if you were actually emotionally invested and intellectually invested in women's sports, why would you ask that question? You're not. You're not. Even as a sports writer or whatever it is that they supposedly do over there. You're not.
Yeah.
And this is what's so perfect about that exchange, because it's all wrapped up in that.
It shows how you don't care. It shows how you really don't care. And he was just trying to get a gotcha, which she recognized and clocked immediately. But this is the thing, is that we are not, a year out from this faux controversy, we've realized how there's actually zero impact on any of this amidst this incredibly exciting explosion of interest in women's basketball. That's not anywhere near what they're talking about, what actually women in sports are talking about. And when you do ask them, they say, yeah, we'd love to include them, because there are a lot of physical, tall women, cis women, that already participate. A trans woman who may be physical or also tall would not be in any way a difference on the floor, and you could see it. I mean, some of those South Carolina women were incredibly strong, but it punctures again, and then why there's always that focus on trans women versus trans men. The idea that, one, if you're a biological male, why would you want to become a woman? I mean, they're lesser. And also just this notion of who's really feminine, who's really a woman. The right and right-wing men in particular get off on gatekeeping that kind of thing. And it shows you don't really think that trans girls and women are trans girls and women. And if you're really concerned about physical differences, okay, again, Yao Ming was much taller than everybody. If everyone was so concerned about physical differences, you could make height requirements on different basketball players. Okay, but putting that aside, if you really are concerned about these physical differences for trans athletes, trans women participating in women's sports, it's really simple. Allow for patients and their doctors, when they are minors, to with the consulting doctors and physicians and therapists, undergo gender affirming care, where hormones will solve all of this stuff and there's nothing for these freaks to worry about. But it's really not about that. It's just about saying, well, they're not really women, are they?